I'm back with another early morning video before I go to work and before I participate in this world, this society. I wanted to talk about a few things I'm passionate about, and I didn't want to give myself any limits or limitations. So words might get me banned just because it's YouTube. And anyway, I wanted to talk about psychedelics first off and how I view their impact um, on people, on cultures, on society, on the world, how they affected me, where I went wrong probably, and what I'm doing now to kind of figure out life. I first started experimenting with drugs, if you want to use that word, plants or whatever, chemicals. I first started smoking weed in high school, right? Um, I think weed is a great drug. I think it's 1,000 times better than alcohol. I think a lot of drugs are circumstantial. Um, some just don't mix with certain environments. Alcohol has its own environment to exist in, and it's not that I don't think weed belongs in it. It's just very. It's not my favorite drugs to mix. Let's just say that alcohol tends to not sit with me well. Um, but yeah, weed. I mean, I think what's really interesting about that time I grew up in was, or the time I was in high school and the time I left high school when I graduated, was I was like right on the edge of like Chat GPT, sort of dictating everything, like dictating all the, um, I don't know, how do I say it? I don't know. Right after my experience in high school, Chat GPT became a really big problem in people's lives, teachers' lives, schools' existences. But what really was happening in high school, which I thought was very interesting, was um, the amount of people who were smoking like on devices, on like little vape pens of some sort, some weed pens, some nicotine pens, um, just little devices they had to charge, right? I think about that. I think about, first off, I think about the amount of people who had like a little weed cartridge in their pocket, just getting absolutely faded at school and just giving it to other people. I wasn't, I mean, I had my own shit, right? I'm not going to incriminate myself always, but I would just, it's not that I wouldn't share, I would only share with certain people, but a lot of people are stupid. This is a big thing. And I'm going to try to tie together is a lot of people with their weed smoking and their nicotine vaping were just so stupid because they viewed it as a more, as like, I'm doing this, I'm cool. And they won't tell you they're doing it, but like, if you see their sort of behavior, um, you can really just draw that correlation or make that decision or see where that's going. Yeah, so high school, I really started smoking weed. That was my sophomore year when I started. Going into junior year, that's junior year summer, I know it was a lot of, ex- I don't know when, I think junior year itself is when I first took LSD or acid. I still, that first trip never really leaves you, I don't think. And I was with two other people, and let's just say I don't know how we didn't get any sort of like acknowledgement towards us. We were house sitting in an area where we were not familiar with. Um, and if you know anything about acid, like that shit can really put you off your rocker if you're not careful. And it's our first time, so like we're being fucking kids. We're running around. We're in the backyard, and we're up all night and crazy time. Just genuinely a crazy time. We survived it. Um, and that was my first sort of like, here it is, here it is. Um, and that year, we had a so the person who was with us, we stopped sort of hanging around with him, um, probably for different reasons for each other. But me and my buddy, um, who I'll name as Tiller, um, we definitely had our times of experimenting that year. That's when I really stopped caring about school, like insanely. Um, I don't think I was informing myself of anything yet. I was really into music. I think the feelings that all this LSD was making me feel really brought me to a very egoic state. Um, I wasn't really listening to any lecturers or psychedelic people or anyone, which I find very interesting about the drug when you're examining everyone who's taking it and experimenting with it. Um, but yeah, that year, me and my buddy would literally just we had plans and we knew what we wanted to do, and no one really joined us. We had a couple people join us here and there, but I think we were off the deep end due to the amount we were taking and how frequent we were taking it. I think at this age, you should not be doing what I was doing. Um, I wouldn't say it threw me off my path, but it threw me off a path for sure. Um, the school system path, going to college and getting a crazy job. And this was at a time where I was very unaware of social and political events. And looking back on it, I kind of am very thankful that I didn't end up in college because I just look at how much I probably would have been sacrificed for, or what I would have had to do to like maintain that um, sort of life with going to college and continuing on to school. And eventually, I started experimenting with mushrooms a little more, and I think more after high school I did, which is a very strange time. You could compare the two, um, but I don't think you can at the same time. They're very different in the feelings they give you. Um, you can definitely sort of reach a similar state, a bodily feeling and mental feeling, but I think what acid did for me was really awaken me to myself and my body and my autonomy. Like I could just jump around and move around and fucking just do it all, right? And I think when you really get back into the mind and realize you can operate what you're thinking about, what you're looking at, how you're perceiving yourself, and then you can realize how you can like act upon your situation, your body. And I think acid sort of builds that in your own world, and there's no real audience for you to perform to, but there is this egoic state where you're not performing, but you are simultaneously the performed and the performer. So it's not that everything becomes an act, but you yourself become a very intentional person, which definitely can be misinterpreted as LARPing or acting or whatever the fuck. What shrooms did for me though was, I don't know, opened me to a more fungal plant symbiotic relationship with earth and natural laws. And this is, I think, when I first started experimenting with shrooms, it was uh, a longer down the path of, information and reading and people I was listening to, and I was learning more about drugs and the mind, and now I'm here. Well, lol, lol, lol. But anyway, I want to sort of paint this picture of people who have never questioned their lives, who have just been in the moment, who have just been in the momentum for years and generations. um, and it's more of like a something you inherit, like you almost inherit your sort of parents' beliefs, right? But you also inherit their sort of perception and their ways, right? But you can also change your ways, which a lot of people don't. But psychedelics definitely allowed me to change my path, but also it made me realize some certain qualities within my family members and my parents, where I saw that they had potential in like a creative aspect, but they never could reach it, right? They would talk about it, they would watch it on the screen, but reaching is a very different thing. And that's how I feel about psychedelics is, a lot of people take a pissant amount, as Terrence McKenna might say, and think they've found out, what's up. But I just don't believe that to be true. You can usually sniff out those people who have taken pissant amounts, and who have really never scratched the surface, if you will. A lot of people fear what psychedelics do. They fear losing their mind. They fear seeing things or whatever, hallucinating. And that's another thing, is you're not really hallucinating. Your mind is wandering, you could say. And I'm sure if you've had any sort of moment in your sobriety where you allow your mind to wander out of thought, you can find your thoughts racing. And that's a very common thing on acid and shrooms, is no one can put an end to their thinking. And an end to thinking is a sort of like an end to and then it's like breaking the current, right? Then reestablishing a new current. And if you look at our world as a sort of momentum, our society and cultures, and or these beliefs, these advancements in technology or electronics as momentums, when you stop thinking, it allows you to form that new momentum for yourself. And I view almost the psychedelics create sort of three different types of people: the creators, the initiators, and the followers. Now, the followers, they sort of just fall in line with beliefs and ideology. The initiators are like the gatekeepers of beliefs and ideology. They're the guard tower of the access point, where they know how to play the cards. They know what to say and what not to say, and they know how to get people interested in their in their language. And the creators sort of create the content, the meat and potatoes for the entertainment world of the followers and the initiators. And it's a very symbiosis or symbiotic um, relationship between these three types of people that I notice. And the followers, there's so many of them. And I think there's this belief in our system where everyone is like a sort of self-embarrassed millionaire that's not a millionaire yet. Like we always, I think we have a lot of followers who are programmed or taught to believe that they need money to sort of reach a happy state, right? Or a content state. And everyone's always living above their means in these states. As a follower, I swear it happens. And you just, if you have any sort of awareness, you're just looking at these people like, what the fuck? Come on. I don't want to talk too long in an abstract way about these things. I do want to form a more realistic thought eventually because it's a very big focus in my life, and sometimes I don't feel like I do it justice or really have any authority to talk about it in a sense and dictate it amongst people. But I find that a lot of people just don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And they end up talking about something that is more along the lines of an ideology, excuse me, or a sort of factual set belief. And I don't really enjoy being around people who are so fixated on being right or having the say or the authority to control the feelings of everyone. And you'll find a lot of different groups of people, friend groups like this, where there's a hierarchical system of what goes and what doesn't. I really don't know if I could put it any better, but it's been hard for me to find passionate people about these things, about human expression, about the mind, about drugs and psychedelics. I find all these people who are surface level and they're caught in their emotions, their anger, their hatred, their inability to use words as a means to explain or describe what the fuck is going on. And a lot of these people are very much addicted to alcohol. That's another thing. And nicotine, like smoking on the vapes and shit. And obviously, drugs are circumstantial, but it's weird to be around so many like people who are willing who are willingly just handing over their mind to this this sort of state that is just fueling the culture and society. I don't I have no interest in sports or it's not that I don't have interest in political events, but our political events are set up as a fucking entertainment system now. 24/7 news cycle. Go tune into it. It's happening right now. People are so fucked up and caught up in their minds and caught up in their screens. But it's just like what it is, right? We need to start using our abilities. We need to start building something grand and creating something amongst people to look at, to be pulled to or drawn to. We can't keep flooding our creative acts in the same areas anymore. We can't keep playing at those shitty bars or the. We have to build the landscape to hold our creative act. That's what I'm saying.